following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zig Zag Man, in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, across the moat from Oakland, and I'm the guy that pushes on the doors of life marked pull and fights the unholy trinity of big business, government, and organized religion. And I do that as well as talk a lot of ball. Many of my guests are not only the most interesting people in the world, but I've arranged it so they get to talk ball with me, and they are all experts. And here's one who's a Renaissance man, and he's my friend. I'd like to introduce, coming back to the airwaves, Jerry Feitelberg. How you doing, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm doing great. You know, I also have the good privilege of having a beautiful home in Alameda, where we have, I think, the best weather in the country.
Absolutely.
My better half is saying no, we don't. She's insisting that the weather in the peninsula is better, but I disagree with her.
No, I do too. She does she spend time with you down here?
Occasionally when we come to Alameda, yeah.
Well, then
I've introduced her to Jimmy's Diner downtown, which is a place that I like to go. And, of course, we like to go to Nations
you get
over
to
on the west
stand
end.
online for a long time outside before you get in, and then you get to spend as much money as anybody spends for breakfast in the United States. So, it's you get some sun, lovely Alameda sun, while you're waiting for the diner, waiting for it's a very popular. There are two. There's a Waffle House right next door.
Oh, yeah. Ollie's was 2 doors down from when I had my store. My store was at the corner of Park Street and Santa Clara, and 2 doors down was Ollie's Waffle House. And in Sunset Magazine, many years ago, gave Ollie's the best recommendation for pancakes. They said Ollie's had the best pancakes in the entire western United States. And it's true.
Wow.
They've got a fabulous recipe. Love the place.
I will check them out. It's been a while. I remember good food and nice people, too.
Yeah, Mark McGuire, who played for the A's back in the 80s and 90s, was a regular at Ollie's. He loved it. Chris Mullen went in there all the time.
Was he a regular because he wasn't eating good, or the steroids? What made him a regular?
No.
Not that kind of a regular?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, a little play on words from the Zig Zag Man. Jerry, it's so nice to have you healthy and going on a trip. Tell the audii what your excursion plans are for next week. Very exciting.
Yeah, we are. We're going from here to Copenhagen and Denmark. I'm not making any offers to buy Greenland while I'm there, but we're going to enjoy Copenhagen for 3 days. Then we go on a 14-day cruise, and we go to Finland. We go to Russia for 3 days. We go to Estonia, Poland, Germany, Sweden, Norway, and we end up in Amsterdam. We have 3 days at the end of the trip. We're looking forward to it. We have all kinds of tours prepared for the trip, and it's exciting. It's my first time to all of these places. The only time I've been in Amsterdam was at the airport a couple of years ago when we went on a trip, and airports don't count. So I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Enjoy in good health, my friend.
Yeah.
And before you go, I'm going to talk a little ball, A's ball in particular. We haven't had an A's show per se in a while now. But first, let's before we talk the stadium issue, and it's always changing news, breaking news. Let's talk. Give us a little recap of the season, where we stand, and what you think of what's going on.
Well, the A's are playing very great ball right now. I think they have the best record in baseball since mid-June, and their hitting has been terrific. They've gotten their pitching rotation was a question mark before the season started. Fires and Anderson and Bassett were in, but they didn't have a 4 or 5 starter, and they made 2 trades. They got Homer Bailey from the Royals, and then at the trade deadline, they got Tanner Roark from the Cincinnati Reds. Both pitchers have done very, very well for the A's. Bailey had a couple bad outings, but he's had more good outings than bad. Pitches very, very well in the Coliseum, as does Tanner Roark. So the A's came back from a road trip that took them to Chicago. They spent a week in Chicago. They dropped 2 out of 3 to the Cubs, and they took 2 out of 3 from the White Sox, and then coming home they split 2 with the Giants. They lost 3-2 to Madison Bumgarner in the first game. Second game they won 9-5. Homer Bailey went 7 innings, gave up 2 hits. It was his best outing as an Athletic. Then they had a daunting challenge. The schedule makers had them playing. They returned home, and they had them playing against the AL West leaders, the Houston Astros, for 4 games. And following that, they had 3. They had the Yankees. Now, the Astros, coming into the series with the Astros, they had played 11 games through the season earlier, and the Astros had eaten their lunch. The Astros held a 9-2 record against the A's. So what did the A's do? They took the first 3 games in the series, and they dropped the last one. So they took 3 out of 4 from the first place Astros. And the second series against New York, they swept the Yankees. So they are 7-1 on the homestand right now. I should say 3-3. Yeah, 6-1, I think. And then they have 2 games left on the homestand against the San Francisco Giants. Madison Bumgarner is pitching on Saturday, and I don't know who's going for the Giants on Sunday. But the A's would like to sweep them and finish the 9-game homestand with an 8-1 record, which would be terrific. So in their last 8 games, though, they're 7-1 because they won the second game against the Giants, and 3 against the Astros, and 3 against the Yankees. And their pitching has been outstanding. Their bullpen.
Hats off to Billy Beane for rebuilding pitching staffs year after year and putting it together with baling tape, glue and baling tape, whatever it is. And he puts a competitive team on the field, gets more for his buck, more bang for his buck than any GM in baseball.
Yeah, he likes the scouting department has given them some really good young players, guys like Matt Olson and Matt Chapman. They made the trade for Marcus Semien several years ago. Semien
he's panned out. He's really getting good.
Getting better every year. His fielding, when he came up, he made so many errors as shortstop, but he worked real hard with Ron Washington, who was the coach, third base coach here for a while. And Washington, who helped Eric Chavez win 6 Gold Gloves, has worked his magic with Semien. Semien's footwork is so much better. His throwing is so much better. And his hitting, he's got 22 home runs, and he's hitting about 275. And I think he's a candidate for a Gold Glove this year. He's playing so well. They made a trade for Jerks and Profar. They lost Jed Lowry as a free agent. Profar has got a lot of pop in his bat, but his batting average is around 210. But his fielding has left a lot to be desired. So they have a young fellow up, Corbin Joseph. He's not young. He's 30
not
years old.
young. This is a guy who's getting a shot at it at a relatively old age for baseball. He's 29
he's 30
or
years
30.
old. 30.
How old?
Yeah, 30.
30.
But,
yeah, that's what I thought.
He's been doing well for them. There's some controversy because some of the people feel that Chad Pinder should be the everyday second baseman. Pinder is a super sub, sort of like Ben Zobrist was with he played Zobrist with the A's in 2015, but he was with Joe Madden down in Tampa Bay. Now he's with the Cubs. So, but Pinder can play all the outfield positions. He can play all the infield positions, and he's terrific when called on. He has a couple pinch hit home runs this year, and he's done whatever the A's ask him to do. They have a terrific center fielder, Ramon Laureano, who has a shin issue. Laureano has 22 home runs too. They got him in a trade for the Astros, and Laureano is now running and maybe starting rehab. He might be back in a week or two if everything pans out. But
good. Good. They miss his glove in center field.
Well, Mark Canha has filled in admirably for him. Canha has a 7-game hitting streak. Maybe it's 8 games. I don't know if he got a hit last night. And no, he has a 7-game hit streak. They didn't play last night. He's hitting about 354 during this streak, and he's having a terrific month in August, knocking in runs, playing a decent center field, doing everything that the A's have asked him to do. And in
nice
left field,
to have depth. Nice to have
it
depth.
Is. It really is. And
no
of course,
question.
Canha can, when Laureano comes back, Canha can DH. The current DH, Chris Davis, is slumping. He's not having a good season. He got injured in Pittsburgh and hasn't been the same since that time. And since the injury, he only has had 2 home runs, and he looks like he's struggling out there. Looks like he's pulling off the ball, striking out a lot, not making contact. And the A's have concern. They're paying him a lot of money, but if he can't go, and it gives Bob Melvin another option to put Canha in at the DH slot. So they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. So the A's are doing
how's
well.
Piscotty doing? He's
Piscotty was on the injured list. He hurt his knee. He was out for about a month. He came back, and he's hitting the ball with authority. He has a couple home runs since he's been back. He's a good fielder in right field. He's a good asset for this club. Terrific.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the magic question. Over and under, how many games do you think they'll end up winning?
Well, I think they've won 73, and they got 35 games left. So if they go 500, that will take them to 91. If they do a little bit better, they could win 95. Very possible.
Okay.
So I'm going to say somewhere between 91 and 95 for sure.
What's happening with their catching? Just because I'm watching the Cubs game today, and our man Fegley was playing first base for the Cubs. Not Fegley, LaCroix. And I know Fegley got hurt.
LaCroix.
Yeah.
If Fegley is back, and they're okay. Chris Herman and Fegley have done a pretty good job this year handling the pitchers. The A's bullpen had some problems. Blake Trinan was lights out last year. Had a lot of trouble with his command this year. He seems to be getting back into the swing of things. He did had a bad outing. I guess it was against the Yankees. Gave up a couple hits. First couple guys came in and hit him. Melbourne took him out of the game. The other guy that was terrific last year, Lou Trevino, started off strong, struggled, but seems to be back on track. His last 3 or 4 outings have been good. So if you got Trinan and they added Jake Diekman, they made a trade for him for the lefty coming out of the bullpen. They brought up A.J. Puck, who made his major league debut against the Yankees the other day.
He had been hurt, but he was quite a prospect before getting hurt.
Yeah, he can throw up to 100 miles an hour, and he's got so much life on his fastball. It just moves on the hitters. He'll get more work. He probably, depending on what happens with Bailey and Roark, if they stay with the A's, they have Puck would be the lefty, would be a candidate for the starting rotation next year, and Luzardo is also we might see him in September for a call up.
Wow!
So we'll see.
An abundance
we'll see.
of riches.
You got it. And pitching is the name of the game. The better the pitching, the better you're going to do. Look at the Red Sox.
No question about that. You're only as good as who's starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's get to the age-old stadium issue. Thought we had it pretty well solved, and now there are some activist groups that plan to go against what they call gentrification of the neighborhood. I thought that was the idea. I thought the stadium was supposed to bring that and enrich the city by so doing. You put restaurants, you put get a lot of tax money coming in. Thought that was the name of the game. Who's having problems with that and why?
Okay, well, here's what they propose for the project. The project is they're going to build a stadium, a 35,000 seat stadium, but the entire project will include 3.3 million square feet of housing. That's a lot of housing. 1.5 million square feet of commercial and office space. They want to build a hotel, they want to build a performance center, and they want to build retail space. The A's are proposing...
All together, or are they going to build the stadium first and build that other stuff around it?
Probably build the stadium first, and then they estimate that the project will be $7.3 billion over 10 years, and will create 6,100 permanent jobs. So that's probably a 10-year project. And so there's a lot involved. The ballpark itself is going to create 667 ballpark jobs. There are going to be 132 jobs in the residential development, 186 retail jobs, and 110 hotel workers. So this is all the jobs that they're creating. However, the city council is worried about the loss of jobs in East Oakland, where the team is located now. So there's a plus and advantage going over to the Howard Terminal, but there's a loss of opportunity in East Oakland.
But now, excuse me a second, isn't the park in East Oakland, and I'm asking rhetorically because I know damn well it is, isn't it aside from anything going on a retail basis over there?
There's not much going on right now.
Not much going on to lose, for crying out loud. The trade-off would be great. But as we talked about off air a couple of days ago, or on email or Facebook or whatever, they'd have been better off going for the clean piece of meat, going for building a stadium in the parking lot or where the existing stadium is now. The infrastructure is in. They have BART backing up. That's Bay Area Transit, which is the main thing in case anybody's listening from out of town. And I'm sure there's people listening from out of town than in town. But my point is, it's all set. Everything is there. Environmental studies don't have to be done. It's so clean. Why Why are they doing it this way?
I don't know. And here you touched on some of the things, and here are some more of the disadvantages. Right now, there are 3 BART stations, and they're a mile away from each one of the 3 BART stations, and they're probably talking about
in the one in the ballpark that they're proposing, which is always going to be a problem getting people in and out of that area. Given
you're right, and it's
even the dog
by
agrees
the
with me.
Yeah, it's constrained by the railroad tracks. They got railroad tracks that are right there. A lot of freight and passenger trains going through there. Also, it's constrained by the waterfront. You got an estuary. You can't fill in the estuary to build additional parking. And the port has a lot of traffic, and there's a lot of truck traffic into the port when the ships come in. So these are some of the things that are a problem. They have to. So the 3 BART stations, the one 12th Street, the one at Lake Merritt, and the one in West Oakland, all will have to have some sort of shuttles running from there to the ballpark. So that's number one.
I have a question. You say you can't build a parking lot in the estuary, but isn't Alameda itself mostly landfill? And
Bay Farm is. I don't know about most of it. I think the island is fairly smaller.
Out by South Shore.
South Shore was filled in. Over by Central Avenue and High Street is filled in land. Yeah, they've reclaimed a lot of that. They've done that, but the problem if they start doing the estuary with all the ships coming in and the terminals there, I don't know if the maritime industry would go for that proposal. But what who
is protesting so vehemently these days against it?
I think you have the maritime industry, the people who are bringing the ships into the estuary, to the docks, and to the terminals to unload the freight. And those ships have to turn around, and so there might be problems with the lighting, that type of thing. But to give you an example of the parking situation, there are 9,000 spots at the Coliseum right now. Of course, the Coliseum can seat 47,000 people, but the new park will hold 35,000. The parking plans are only for 3,500 spaces at Howard Terminal, so that's a real problem. The city is
California, in case anybody's listening, everybody's married to their car.
Oh yeah.
And they will reluctantly get into something like buses or whatever, trains for short periods of time, but it's got to be well produced. Shuttles and what have you, to get people out of their cars. I think just what you said, just citing the parking, if nothing else.
It's a real problem, but the city is looking at using a parking management system similar to what the Sacramento Kings do in Sacramento. They will set prices in city-owned and private lots on game day, and they could utilize up to 10,000 spots downtown. So that may be a situation, but they're going to have to shuttle the people over from the parking lots to the stadium. They have to figure a way how to do that. You're not going to, most of the games at night, I don't think the people want to walk at 10:30 at night through Oakland, downtown Oakland. It could be problems. But they're also thinking of restricting the pickup and drop-off areas for the Uber and Lyft people, maybe a half mile from the stadium to prevent traffic jams. And the problem is that the streets are not able to handle a lot of traffic. They're just 2-lane streets, 1 lane in each direction, or one-way streets. and it could be a nightmarish situation getting in and out of the ballpark. Don't know
how
yet
long
that's
is
going to play
baseball? How long is organized ball going to be patient about all of this?
That's a good question. Major League Baseball has, as far as I know, has not put a time limit on the A's building a new stadium. They know that Tampa Bay is in a miserable situation also. Tampa Bay has a lease on that stadium until 2027. The team would like to go to another city. They're thinking of Montreal, but Montreal doesn't have a stadium either. And so, but it would really be great to have Tampa Bay move up to Montreal. You have that Toronto-Montreal rivalry, Boston-Montreal, Montreal-New York. It would be a good fit. But they can't do anything.
Right, but then it'll only be one team in Florida, and
the Marlins have the worst attendance in Major League Baseball. Tampa Bay has the second worst attendance in Major League Baseball. The A's are maybe sixth or seventh worst, but there's nothing you can do. The problem in Florida is that they have so many snowbirds. People come down there for the winter and go home, and then the people that stay in the summer, there's so many transplants that there are sometimes more people cheering for the Yankees or cheering for the Red Sox than cheering for the Tampa Bay Rays, and I'm sure the same thing happens for the Marlins. And the Marlins they built a pretty beautiful stadium. Build it and they will come. But in Miami, it's build it and we're not going. And of course, part of the problem with Miami is that they've had some success. They've won 2 world championships, but
sold everybody off and pissed off the fans.
Yeah. So that's a franchise in turmoil.
What's that expression? You reap what you hoe, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So, all right. Well, I'm not much of a farmer,
So a lot of questions have to be answered. Where are you gonna put all the cars? How are you gonna get the people to the stadium? The A's are proposing building a gondola to go from 12th Street all the way over to Howard Terminal. It can handle 6,000 people an hour. So that might help. Parking, shuttles, whatever it takes to get there.
It might, but you know what? Because we've never even seen the owner of the A's. He's never made a public appearance. We have no idea of his loyalty. And if something like Las Vegas comes along, where they'll put a new level on the stadium or whatever it's going to take, they've got the territorial rights already, and I think that could happen. And the team could be scooped up and lost, all because.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. The team could be lost, and it would be a tragedy. They've been here for over 50 years. Their first season was 1968, and they've had great success.
Absolutely, and I can remember reading what they called the green sheet. Remember when the San Francisco Chronicle, the sports section was in green, and I'm at Travis Air Force Base, which is halfway between San Francisco and Sacramento, and it's like 60 miles away. And I pick up the paper, and the A's of Kansas City are now the A's of Oakland, and
right.
That was very exciting. But I saw then, and I saw it certainly firsthand with the Giants and Dodgers, and with the Braves and what have you. There is nothing in stone. There is no loyalty. So
the teams are in business to make. You there?
Yeah, I am. You're cutting
We had
in
an
and out.
invalid. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I just want to
to
stress the point that it could all come tumbling down, and the worst thing is for we elderly, older folks who really depend on the games as our entertainment, and the young kids are the ones that suffer the most.
Oh yeah.
Get a kid like I was when I was 10, building up loyalty, New York Giants, go, go, go. You know, Willie Mays this, Willie Mays that. I'm 10 years old. They moved.
They moved to San Francisco. The Dodgers broke. The borough of Brooklyn was heartbroken. They took the heart and soul out of that community, and they were a community because the Dodger players lived in Brooklyn. They used to walk home. Gil Hodges and Pee Wee Reese, they were all known. They them, and they were gone to California.
And we missed Willie in New York in his first prime.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to move out to California in the Air Force and stay out here. So I got the pleasure of seeing the Giants all the way through those great years. But for the average kid to lose a team, it's a disaster, and it's something that stays with you. It's a loss. And,
I had the same thing with the Braves in 1953. Right. They just picked up and left, and I think we talked to Skip Lockwood when he was with the Seattle Pilots. He was driving out to Seattle on his way wherever he was going, and they said, "Sorry, kid, you got to go to Milwaukee."
Right. They didn't decide to do that until spring training. They went under in spring training. And, so it's all very tenuous, and I'm hoping for the best with the A's, and I'm hoping you have a great, healthy trip.
Well, we're looking forward to it. We're going to have a great time.
My best to your young lady, Isla, and take care of each other.
Oh yeah, and thankfully for my cell phone, I got this little app, and I can get all the scores. It's a little difficult, and I got to wait because we're going to be 10 hours ahead. But I'll keep up with everybody.
For $20 a year, you could have every baseball game, home and away, on pumped into that same phone. Did you know that?
Yeah, but I don't have to have it with me all the time.
Okay, well, it's just in case you want to catch a game while you're gone.
Sure. No, I think that I'll be too much to do, so.
All right.
Okay.
Try not to be the ugly American.
Yeah, I will. I'll be good.
Okay. Best to you, my friend.
Take care.
Thank you for listening, everybody. I'm going to end the podcast the way I generally do. I'm going to implore my audience to keep your dreams wet, keep your humor dry, keep your children and grandchildren off the laps of clerics that wear dresses and out of the waiting room of military recruiting offices. Try doing that. Everything will be just fine. Stay well, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Jerry Feitelberg. You the best. Adios.
Okay,
everybody.
thank you, Ralph. We'll see you. Goodbye.